Ah, the MK party. So many hopes and dreams and ambitions, all squandered because it would appear the MK party is not sending their best to Parliament.
It was quite weird to see 58 members of parliament for MK swear allegiance to the constitution that they wish to sort of override. That was a bit of a strange thing. But most importantly, let's talk about two people who are in parliament thanks to MK. Number one is Dr., as he likes to call himself, Dr. John Hlope. And number two is Andile, unpronounceable surname. I don't know how to say it, and I'm not even going to bother to try. Let's start with John Hlope, the only judge to be impeached in a democratic South Africa. If that is your only claim to fame, you are not good enough to be anything, let alone a member of parliament, surely.
So it's important to remember who Hlope was. He was a Zuma loyalist, and obviously one of the things that he got, let's call it, done for. He didn't really get done for. I mean, he got impeached. He wasn't a criminal sanction, if you will. But the wrongdoing he did was that he attempted to influence basically judicial rulings when it came through to Jacob Zuma, specifically Jacob Zuma's corruption scandals. This was deemed to have been found to be incorrect. Shock horror. Incorrect when you do fraud in South Africa. It was the one time I actually applied. And obviously, it led to his eventual downfall. And I say eventual downfall because it did take an incredibly long time for him to be impeached. And in that process, he went around the country and told people exactly why he thought that he was being impeached. And in his words, it was, well, you can guess, it's the white man. Yep, it's the white man again. He came out there with his white monopoly capital, and he didn't want Hlope to be a judge because reasons. I mean, he's in the Western Cape, so DA maybe? Who knows? But Hlope has a real bugbear, and that bugbear is the Constitution of South Africa, specifically the fact that land can be owned by private individuals. And he says, this shouldn't be allowed. We should amend the Constitution, Section 25, to expropriate all land without compensation. Yep, that old thing again. And the other thing that he claims is that law should be Africanized. We should respect the law that was here prior to the Whiteys arriving, and we should go back to that law. And I'm not sure what law he means. And I think I do kind of know what he means, and that is whatever law I really want in order so that I don't get into trouble for my misdemeanors. I want that. And unfortunately, that's currently not what he has.
No, it certainly isn't. And again, when the MK talks about they want to return to African law and things like that and overrule the Constitution, like there are good reasons to overrule the Constitution, don't get me wrong, but they never explain what they actually want. A lot of it seems to be like some bastardization of African law mixed with communism because African law doesn't have private property. Yeah, because you were a tribal people. Like, the land was so plentiful, you didn't need property rights for the most part. A lot of the tribes were nomadic as well. So, in the context of South Africa now, which is a modern economy, reverting to African law is, well, basically just dumb. And these are the sort of people that are in parliament for MK. Now, the second person we're going to talk about is Andile, unpronounceable surname, who rose to fame as the leader of Black First Land First, which was a Gupta-funded PSYOP for the most part. He got 18,000 votes, I believe, into the 2019 general election, so i.e. not very popular. And now he's trending on Twitter because of the speech he made back in 2018, which is this one. Now, Byron, of course, when you see that speech, you might think to yourself, oh, that's definitely hate speech. No, unfortunately, the Equality Court of South Africa thinks otherwise, and they said this is not hate speech at all. But again, this guy got 20,000 votes. He is a racist. Why have him as a parliamentarian? He doesn't bring anything new to the table. He is not popular with the electorate. It's so strange to have a very unpopular person become a member of parliament who has such a lot of controversy attached to him.
Yes, so unfortunately for those of you who don't know, I'm a lawyer. This is Ramon. And I unfortunately read the judgment for you. I say unfortunate because it was a very confused judgment. So in this exact judgment, what had basically happened is AfriForum took Andile to court and said, this is clearly hate speech. I mean, you're basically calling for the death of certain individuals, which we can't say on YouTube, otherwise we will be demonetized and sent to the gulags. But anyway, let's actually look what the court said. So the court said, when applying the ruling of hate speech, it's basically subjective. So it's like, if you, dear audience, if you listen to it and you go, that's not very nice, that might be inciting violence, to me, that's hate speech. The court said, definitely. So Andile came out and basically said, well, yeah, that might be true, but you see, I got a sociology master's in critical race theory, which makes me a genius, and you need to listen to what I have to say. And what I have to say is, yeah, I didn't mean it, brah. Trust me, brah, because of the rules. Like, yeah, man, like nobody believed me. The mere fact that he was caught on camera making his crowd repeat what he said, it was like, nah, trust me, bro. We all knew it was rhetoric. And AfriForum said, we can't use the rule of trust me, bro. You know, there are these things called farm murders in South Africa, and so people do take it seriously. And he said, well, how can you attribute that to me? And they were like, did you listen to what you said? Now, in interpreting the judgment, the judge actually came out and said, yeah, South Africa has a racial historical context, and we have to take that into account because, you know, there were things that done in the past, and so some people say things now because they were hurt. Their fifis were hurt a long time ago, and so you know it's just difficult. And so essentially, he wasn't racist, even though maybe he was racist. And the court said specifically, you can't start everybody off on the neutral playing field and then judge it from there. You have to consider the context that everybody starts on. Of course, it also said that white people have a lot to answer for, which is kind of racist. So this judgment basically allowed this individual to go, yeah, actually, I got a scot-free. So I can say whatever I want. And we are seeing that quite a bit now in the context of South Africa. Now, I say all of this to you, ladies and gentlemen, not to bore the living daylights out of you, but because this is the individual going to court. Or should I say, this is the individual going to Parliament. This is the individual that the MK party have put forward.
No, it isn't. And I think my greatest concern is this, right? Black South Africans are South Africans. We are South Africans. We want the best for the country, for the people of this country. We want a South Africa that works. We want a South Africa that works for everyone, but especially, of course, for the people who are poor. Hlope and Andile and a lot of the MK people, I think, is a great betrayal of black poverty. I don't think these people have the best interests of poor blacks at heart, because there is no indication in the history that they've actually done anything to help poor black people. They keep talking about them. They keep saying, we're fighting for you, but they don't like start orphanages or institutions or charities or organizations that actually do solve real world problems. They just sort of stand on their pulpit and say, white man bad, black people oppressed, and on the merry-go-round goes, and they get paid now 1.3 million rand a year to do this in Parliament as well. It's largely like the EFF playbook as well, where like you have the most ineffectual people in terms of solving real problems, acting on behalf of a group of people that actually need a lot of help, but the help is not coming from the people that they profess to be speaking about. And that's a fundamental problem with MK, that's a fundamental problem with the EFF. And I mean, ironically, the policies of like the Freedom Front Plus and the IFP helps more black people than any of these guys. And that's like the great betrayal here.
That might be the great betrayal, but you know, Ramon, as Andile tells us, white people can't talk about race because of the past. And you know, where everybody intersects, well, you know, you just can't have that because black people are more victims of the past and white people are the aggressor. And so, you know, you have to tell white people to shut up whilst they say whatever they want. And that's unfortunately the problem with critical race theory. Because in the process of telling everybody to shut up, you even tell the people who want to help you the most to shut up. And unfortunately, that often leads to disastrous consequences, which is exactly what we're seeing right now. Now, you see, what's really interesting is that many of you may say that what we're saying is hyperbolic. MK do want to help the poor, defenseless black individual, and they want to get the dignity of individuals back. Yeah, if that was the case, how come Hlope's very, very first argument he's having in Parliament is right now? And he's saying, actually, I'm the leader of the official opposition, so just make sure that my paycheck is that of the official leader of opposition. in Parliament because I get paid more money than the normal MPs, which is true. The leader of the opposition does. And he's like, well, that's me. So make sure my pay slip says that because like I want the maximum I'm allowed to have. Yeah, that really sounds like an individual who really cares for the voiceless masses. Doesn't it, Ramon?
Very much so. So not only do these people do nothing for the voiceless masses, they don't, even the very ideas that they profess to have that to help the poor black people of South Africa are bullshit ideas. Return to African law, nationalize all the land, nationalize all the minerals. These things don't make a great nation. These things don't make poor people rich. These things don't, help anyone. They only help the politicians who do it, because then they can control the purse strings of all of the stuff. Just don't get dribbled, as Big Daddy Liberty likes to say. And this is like the quintessential party of dribbling, them and the EFF. Thankfully, now that the EFF and MK are the official opposition, and these are the types of people who are they taking to Parliament to be the official opposition, I think the government of national unity would last a lot longer than if they actually had bright people there.